Good day everyone, my name is Moedel Abbas, one of the reporter of the Group 1, and now we're going to discuss to you about the geometric optic. In this lesson, we delve into the concept of geometric optics. This is a branch of optics that deals with light as if it travels in straight lines and ignores effects related to wave interference. This approximation is generally valid when the wavelength of light is much smaller than the size of objects it interacts with. The wavelength of visible light is less than 1 micrometer or 1 micron, and if you convert it into meter, it will become 10 raised to negative 6 or 0.00001 meter, which is about 100 times smaller than the diameter of a human hair. Most objects we encounter in our real life are much larger than this, making geometric optics a useful tool for describing many common optical phenomena. Geometric optics is particularly useful in understanding the behavior of lenses and mirrors. It allows us to predict how light will behave when it encounters this object, which is crucial in the design and application of many optical devices. So we have figure 1 here. Figure 1 illustrates the behavior of light passing through an opening onto a screen. In scenario A, where the opening is large compared to the wavelength of light, the light casts a regular shadow on the screen. This scenario falls under the regime of geometric optics, also known as ray optics, where the light travels in straight lines. As you can see in scenario A, the opening is larger compared to wavelength of light, and the light behaves according to geometric optics or ray optics. This means that the light casts a regular shadow on the screen, and the rays of light follow straight paths through the opening. However, in scenario B, when the size of the opening becomes comparable or smaller than the wavelength of light, the light spreads out as it passes through the opening. This spreading out is a result of the wave nature of light, and this scenario falls under the regime of wave optics, where the opening is smaller than the wavelength of light rays and the light spread as it passes through the opening. As you can see in scenario B, the size of the opening is comparable or smaller than the wavelength of light. The light spread out the light spread out as it passed through the opening. This phenomenon is due to the wave nature of light, while rays still used to indicate the path and direction of propagation. The light no longer follows straight lines but instead exhibits a spreading effect. In summary, if the opening is large, the light behaves according to geometric rays, and the rays of light follow a straight path. And when the opening is small, the light spreads out due to the wave nature of light. So what is wavefront? A wavefront refers to the surface that is determined by the crest and trough of a wave. It is always perpendicular to associated rays of the wave. The shape of the wavefront depends on how the wave is generated and the distance from the source. Wavefronts can be simple planes or spherical in shape. When a point source of a wave is very far away, the wavefronts appear as very large spheres, which to an observer appear nearly flat. In this case, the wave front can be approximated as plane waves. The behavior of light rays and the wave front can be mathematically derived from Maxwell equation, which describe the properties and behavior of electromagnetic waves, including light. According to Maxwell equation, the light has certain properties. The first is the motion of light along a light ray is reversible, meaning that light can travel in both forward and backward direction along its path. The second is the perpendicular distance between two wave fronts is proportional to the speed of light. This relationship arises from the way wave fronts are related to the crest and trough of a wave. In summary, a wave front is a surface determined by the crest and trough of a wave, always perpendicular to the associated rays. The shape of wave front depends on the wave source and distance. Maxwell equations describe the behavior of light rays and wave fronts, including their reversibility and the relationship between wavefront distance and the speed of light.
Good day everyone. I am Almorad P. Aliman and I am going to discuss the forming an image by ray tracing. So light that emanates from an object is used by your eye to form an image of the object. So looking at the figure 3, it shows how rays originating from two different points of an object reach an eye. So ray tracing explains how we see images and how images are formed through the principles of optics and ray tracing. Light rays that emanates from objects interact with other surfaces by reflecting off them or refracting, which means bending, as they pass through different materials. Our brain interprets these rays to visualize the object's origin, creating the images we see. For a clearer understanding, geometrical optics simplifies this process by considering light rays as straight lines, making it easier to study how light behaves when it reflects off mirrors or refracts through materials like glass. Ray tracing is also a technique used to create realistic images by simulating the light rays travel and interact with surfaces. This method calculates paths of light as they bounce off objects and pass through materials effectively, mimicking how our eyes perceive light and shadows. This allows for highly detailed and accurate rendering of light effects such as reflections, refractions, and shadows in images. It is commonly used in games, movie animations, computer graphics, and visual effects. The concept of optics and ray tracing focusing on how we perceive light from objects and how it forms images. Here is an explanation. So, optics and ray tracing is the concept revolves around how rays of light interacts with objects and how they are perceived by the human eye or captured by devices like cameras. Rays of light emanate from points on object. These rays then travel and interact through different media and interfaces. Formation of images by ray tracing. So when light interacts with object, light rays reach an or when light rays reach an object, they interact with its surface. Depending on how the surface properties and the material of the object, the light rays can either reflect off the surface or refract through it. Perception of images. The light rays that interacts with the object eventually reach our eyes. Our eyes receive these rays and transmit the information to our brain. Our brain then processes this information by tracing these rays back to determine where they originated from. Interpreting the environment. This process of tracking back the light rays helps our brain interpret and the spatial location of the objects and their characteristics. It enables us to perceive the position of objects in space and understand what they look like based on how light interacts with them. Next is geometrical optics. Geometrical optics is a simplified approach used to understand how images are formed. This model simplifies light rays into straight lines for easier analysis. Reflection. Reflection occurs when light rays hit a surface and bounce back. For example, is when light hits a mirror, it reflects off the mirror's surface. Second is refraction. Refraction occurs when light rays pass through different materials and bend in the process. An example of this is when light passes through a glass prism, it reacts and separates into different colors. So understanding these processes is crucial in explaining how light behaves and how images are formed in geometrical optics. Ray tracing in physics is a method used to analyze the propagation of waves such as light or sound by tracing the paths of individual rays of energy as they interact with different materials or boundaries. This technique helps in understanding how waves behave in various mediums and how they are affected by reflections, refraction, diffraction, and other phenomena. Overall, ray tracing is important because it enhances the ability to mimic the real world light behavior in digital and visual technologies, leading to better quality and accuracy. Thank you.
Hello everyone. After you have learned about the ray optics, let's discuss the Snell's law. I am Mohammed B. Salik, your reporter in this video. So Snell's law. Snell's law is a fundamental principle in optics governing the behavior of light when it passes through different mediums. It relates the two angles, the angles of incidence and the angle of refraction, and the indices of refraction of the two material on each side of the boundary, which means Snell's law is like a rule that describes how light changes direction when it moves from one material like the air or water into another material like the glass or the water. For us to understand it more, let's give an example. Imagine you are at the edge of a swimming pool and you are looking at a coin lying at the bottom of the pool. When you look at it from above, it seems like it's in a different place than it really is. This happens because light bends or refracts when it moves from water into the air. Snell's law can be expressed in an equation: n sub I multiplied by sine theta sub I is equal to n sub r multiplied by sine theta sub r. Whereas the n sub I is equal to index of refraction of the incident medium and the n sub r is the index of refraction of the infractive medium, and the theta sub I is the angle of incidence and the theta sub r is the angle of refraction. So the angle of incidence and the angle of refraction, the angle of incidence, it is the angle between the incoming light ray, which is the blue arrow here, and the normal line. Our normal line here, it is the line perpendicular to the surface. And it is between the interface between the boundary. Our boundary here is the horizontal line here. So it is between the two medium. And the angle of incidence, it is the angle at which the incoming light ray hits the boundary. And as we can see here, it is where the material A or the N sub I is located. And for the angle of the refraction, it is the angle between the refracted light ray and the normal of the interface between two mediums. And the angle of refraction, it is the red arrow here. And it is where also the N sub R is located, or the material B. And the angle of refraction, it is the angle at which the light ray bends or changes direction after crossing the boundary between the two mediums. For us to understand it more, let's try to solve a problem. Our problem here is a ray of light in air is approaching the boundary with water at an angle of 52 degrees, and determine the angle of refraction of the light ray. So let's refer to this diagram to understand the problem. So as we can see here in the diagram, the angle of incidence is 52 degrees, and our N sub I is the incidence of the medium or the air, and the angle of the refraction, which is where the water is located. And our given here for the N sub I is equal to 1, since air is the value of it of the angle of incidence is approximately is equal to 1. And for the N sub R, for the incidence of refraction, it is equivalent to 1.33, since that is the value of a water. And for the angle of incidence, as I have said earlier, it is 52 degrees. And what we're trying to find here, based on the problem, is the angle of refraction of the light ray. So let's try to solve it. So we're going to use the formula, as I have said earlier, for the Snell's law. And after we know the known values, let's try to plug in it to the formula or the equation. So let's try to plug in the given into the formula. So we're going to have a 1 sine 52 degrees, and for the sine theta sub I, we're going to have a sine 52 degrees, and for the N sub R, we're going to have a 1.333, and the sine theta sub R, since we don't have any value for it, since we're trying to find it. So if na-apply na natin yung operation, if i-plug in natin yung sine 52 degrees into the calculator, we're going to have a value of 0.7880, and is equal to 1.333 sine theta r, since if we're just going to multiply it, we're going to have the coefficient of sine theta r. Then since ang hinahanap lang natin dito is yung angle of refraction, we're going to divide 1.333 into both sides para ma-cancel natin. So 0.7880 divided by 1.333 is equal to 0.591. So just cancel the 1.333. So ang makukuha na natin na value is sine theta sub r is equal to 0.591. So hindi pa ito yung goal natin, since ang gusto lang natin makuha dito is yung angle of refraction. Then we're going to use the inverse trigonometric function, which is the inverse sine. So let's add the inverse sine into the opposite side, and ang mangyayari dito is makakancel na natin yung sine na nasa kabila. Ang matitira na lang is yung theta sub r. So para makuha naman natin yung value ng inverse sine 0.591 is ipa-plug in natin siya into calculator. Para ma-plug in lang natin siya is pindutin nyo lang sa calculator yung shift, then pindutin yung sign, then lalabas na dun yung sign raised to -1 or the inverse sign. Then, plug the 0.591. So, ang lalabas na value sa calculator is going to have a 32 degrees. So, our angle of refraction is equal to 32 degrees. So, that's it for the problem A. So, para mas maintindihan pa natin is, let's try to add another set of example, and this time we're going to have a different scenario. So, for the problem B, a ray of light in air is approaching the boundary with a layer of ground glass at an angle of 42 degrees, and determine the angle of refraction upon entering the ground glass and upon leaving the ground glass, which means we're going to have a two boundaries in this problem. So, yung upon entering the glass and upon leaving the ground glass. So, ang mangyayari kasi yun, yung light na nag-enter upon the ground glass and yung light na nag-leave sa ground glass. So, let's refer to this diagram. As we can see here, the angle of incidence is 42 degrees for the boundary number 1. And the N sub I is the air na nag-pass through to the surface from the normal line, and yung light na nag-pass through into the entering the ground glass is and nag-leave siya ulit based from the given natin is yung ground glass naman natin, and nag-leave naman siya ulit, which is yung napapass through nyo naman is yung air for the boundary 2. So by that, we can identify our given for the N sub I, which is yung air, is equivalent to 1. And for the N sub R is equals to 1.52, which is the approximate value of the crown glass. And for the angle of incidence, as we can see here, 42 degrees. And for the boundary number 2, is we have the N sub I is equal to 1.52, since our N sub I or the material A here is the 1.52. And it passes through and it leaves the crown glass, which ang na-pass through naman nung light is yung crown glass. So the value of our N sub R here, which is the material B or the air here, is equal to 1. So, ang nangyari lang is, na-reverse lang yung value nung boundary natin, since magkaibang scenario na to, and ang tinatry pa din natin dito kunin is yung the angle of refraction of the light ray so let's try to solve it. So, we're just the same with the problem A. We're going to use the Snell's law equation or formula, and let's going to solve first the boundary number 1. So we have the N sub I is equal to 1, and for the angle theta sub I is equal to 42 degrees sine 42 degrees and is equal to 1.52 sine theta sub R. And if we're going to apply the operation on it, we're going to have a 0.669 is equal to 1.52 sine theta sub R. And since gagaya sa last problem, para ang matira na lang is yung sine theta sub R, we're going to divide 1.52 on both sides para nga ang matira na lang is yung sine theta sub R. So cancel the 1.52. So ang pag-divide natin yung 0.669 sa 1.52, ang makukuha natin na value is 0.4402 is equal to sine theta sub R. Then again, hindi pa ito yung goal natin. So we're going to use again the inverse trigonometric function and add it on the both sides para ang matira na lang dito is yung angle of refraction or the theta sub R, and we're going to cancel the sign. So if we try to plug in the inverse sign into the 0.4402 since ang hinahanap lang natin dito is yung theta sub r. So, let's try to plug in the inverse sine into the calculator, 0.402. So, we're going to have a 26.1 degrees. And yun na yung angle of refraction natin for the boundary number 1. After we have solved the boundary number 1, let's proceed to the boundary number 2. And we're going to use the same formula and i-plug in lang natin yung values na nakuha natin kanina sa given natin for the boundary number 2, which is the 1.52 for the n sub I sine 26.1 degrees is equal to 1 sine theta sub r. And the same process with the boundary number 1, try to put the operation, multiply them, and we're going to have a 0.6691 sine theta sub r since multiply natin yung 1.52 sa 26.1 degrees na theta. So we're going to have a 0.6691, and if we're going to multiply 1 sine to theta sub r, we're going to just have a sine theta sub r, and no need to divide 1 to the both sides since same lang naman yung magiging kalabasan na, and just repeat the same process. We're going to use again the inverse trigonometric function, which is the inverse sine here, and just cancel the sine para ang matira na lang sa atin is yung theta sub r. So, itry, and after natin ma-cancel yung sine, which is ang natira na lang is theta sub r, we're going to plug in this inverse sine 0.6691, and ang lalabas na nasa calculator natin is yung 42 degrees. So our angle of refraction for the boundary number 2 is 42 degrees, and therefore for the boundary number 1, our angle of refraction is 26.1 degrees, and for the boundary number 2 is 42 degrees. So that's it. That ends our report, and I hope na madami kayong natutunan sa video na to, and if you have any questions or clarification, just message the reporters and we're going to enlighten your questions. So that's it. Thank you.